Hey there, this is Kat Stancic with the Revenue Accelerator podcast. And today I have Nina Froriep. I want to tell you a little bit about Nina. Well, because she's amazing, obviously. So she has seen a lot when it comes to video, everything from the early days of independent features to big national TV commercials, corporate mega shows, and just Emmy award winning documentary films, including one she actually produced herself and directed called Abraham's Children. It is very interesting, so I would definitely recommend you guys check that out. Today, Nina is excited to support and enable business coaches and service-based entrepreneurs to create easy and impactful video marketing, as well as leveraging those same strategies over on LinkedIn specifically, so that they can attract their ideal clients and be, well, let's say it, the disruptors in their industry, because we are all about change. And so let's get this going. So Nina, like, why video? Like, how did you, and I know you wrote a book as a child and that kind of started the creativity process, but how did you get to video and doing what you do?
The short version, the version that's appropriate for this setting.
Nice. No, I want the X-rated now.
So, I mean, basically, I got into film some 30 years ago. And yes, I was a teenager. No, I wasn't. But anyway, I got into film because it was sort of the perfect catch-all for somebody like me who's a total all-rounder. So always been very creative, but as my parents so lovingly put it, not enough to make a living with it. And they might have been
that parental love,
Yeah, we love our parents. But it also, I have a very analytical side. I'm amazing with numbers and budgets. I love working with people. I'm always been very tech curious, not necessarily hands-on, but very, like, I love anything that has to do with the forefront. Like, when cryptocurrency came up, I was like the first one to go like, yay, jump in. So all of that is encompassed in filmmaking. So 30 years ago, when I discovered filmmaking over, just being a writer, and I'm saying just in parentheses, or just being a, musician or a actor or a dancer or whatever, it just seemed like the perfect world for me because it was all in one. And so that's how I came into the whole world of filmmaking. In the beginning, features and the whole nine yards, and then, slowly but surely whittled myself down or up, however you want to look at it, into documentary and corporate work, which was a really nice balance. One was, an extremely good moneymaker and, supported my company and me for many decades. And the other one was the love of it and the intellectual curiosity of it and all that.
So what brought you to kind of, I've got to go look in thesaurus and find a different word for this because it needs to not be this one. So what provided you that, I was going to use a P word, that transition, that addition to, kind of adding the LinkedIn component? Because I know it's something that you were kind of doing it on the back end a little bit with your clients, but it wasn't really at the forefront of your business. And it's something that I know that you're bringing right now to the forefront because your clients have achieved so much success with it. It's like, why am I not sharing this more? So what happened where that kind of came forward and was like, yes, this is what I really want to be sharing even more with my people?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that happened over, a shortish period of time. So the last 4 or 5 years, I've been focusing on teaching people how to do video marketing. And, any coach, anybody you talk to, it's like, you need to be niching, or however you want to pronounce it. You need to narrow your focus. And, I did the whole exercises of how about we only do video marketing for orthodontists, or how about we only do video marketing for, immigration lawyers. And, I was like, well, who, I just don't want to do that. So you need to find a way to specialize yourself, especially as a coach. And we are living LinkedIn. We're doing LinkedIn. We're attracting clients on LinkedIn. We're helping our clients. I mean, very quickly became clear that LinkedIn was sort of the perfect place for our clients, which are the aforementioned business coaches and service entrepreneurs in general. They are on LinkedIn. Yes, they're also on Facebook, but LinkedIn is a place where you still can get organic reach. LinkedIn, I've just been reading several articles and talking to some other fellow coaches. People are leaving Facebook in droves. I mean, And then Instagram, as a visual person, I absolutely adore Instagram, but it's a freaking pain in the butt. I don't know what the cursing
Go
policy
for
here
it. Go for it.
fucking
Spice
pain
it
in the
up.
ass um, to do as a video marketer, to do Instagram, because everything you do has a different format, video format, thumbnail format, length format. So if you, and we're all about helping our clients to manage the content that you're creating for your LinkedIn or for whatever social media profile is manageable and doesn't become a full-time job, because it
Yes.
tends to do so.
Yeah.
And we all, the whole content creation part should be a small part of what we're doing. In like my case, that's what I love doing, but that's not for
Your
everybody.
business, it's a little different relationship
Exactly.
there.
I build my business on that, right?
Yeah.
So, LinkedIn just really seems to be the place to be. From a business point of view, from a service provider point of view. If you're a retailer, yes, maybe you still want to be in Instagram. If you're doing really well on Facebook, don't fix it if it ain't broke. But I think that LinkedIn really is a great place. And then for us as video marketers in particular, if you really want to stand out, LinkedIn is still a great place to do so with video and with lives.
Yeah.
Much more so than the totally oversaturated Facebook.
Yeah. Well, my listener base is mostly service providers. And it's kind of like, if you're a service provider, like there are very few exceptions where LinkedIn wouldn't actually work for you. So, let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that that's the thing that a lot of people are interested in. They're trying to monetize it. They're trying to monetize their efforts and all that. So how does video come into play? Because, marketing is one piece and then sales is another. And of course they integrate and overlap and connect and all these things. So what's the strategy? What's working right now to help monetizing time on LinkedIn, leveraging obviously your strategies in terms of video?
Mhm. I mean, what's working is consistency. I mean, it's super freaking boring. And, I always say my middle name is consistency. And all the coaches that I work with, it's like, you got to find something better than consistency. It's not very sexy, but I'm like, well, it doesn't have to
But you
be
know
sexy,
what?
right?
Boring
Yeah.
money is
Yeah.
really good
it's still
money.
money,
So
right?
I'll take consistency because that's what actually generates revenue. So
Yeah. Yeah. And, and it is something, and it's interesting that you're asking that exact question, because my business partner and I, Robin, we keep pivoting. I know that's a P word you didn't want to say earlier,
it's
right?
okay. I just have to make a thing of it. So
Yeah. Well, we'll just make it a thing. My words are all start with seed. I am a C alliteration person. Change. There we go. That's a C word. So things are just changing faster than you can keep up with. And we are actually ourselves right now, like trying out new stuff like crazy, because what worked in 20 was an amazing year for us. Everybody was like, fuck, we need video. And I'm like, haha, here we are, So, and then 21 was still good. And now 22 is a completely different animal. So for instance, what we're noticing, so we've gone the route from in the early days in 18, 17, 19, we bought into these services where you could automate messages to people on LinkedIn.
yeah.
Oh my God, I hate myself for doing that back then. But back then it was the cool thing to do. And it's what, the cool kids did. So of course, we did. And now I'm like ashamed of the messages we sent out back then and how
Do
we
you
sent
ever
them out.
get, because I'll admit back in the day, I had done that too, because I was learning, right? I mean, all the
Right.
different things. And then it was like, no, this isn't cool. Every now and then, I will get like someone who will respond to me, and it's usually someone who's doing the automated thing and they're sending me an automated message. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I scroll up to be like, okay, we're already connected. Where is this coming out of? And I see the message and I'm like, oh my God.
Embarrassing, right? Did I
That's
really
like,
write this?
elementary, kindergarten level stuff. And I'm so much more advanced now than then, but it's always like oh my God, please forgive me. Or I'll run into someone, for example, in different networking communities, and we'll maybe have already been connected some way, somehow. And then I go to send them a message and be like, hey, it was great to connect with you. And I see that one of the messages that they had from me originally was one of those old messages. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't judge me on that. Forgive me for my sins. Has that happened?
Yeah. More than I dared to admit, for sure. Well, and back then there were no limits, right? So we were like sending out 100 connection requests a day, and then they capped it to 50. Now it's 100 a week, right?
Yep, I'm sure they're
And
going to reduce it too.
yeah, and even just today we were saying it's even 100 is too many, because
Hmm.
now the way people, I mean, so we have like the standard message where we're like, so thanks for connecting with us. And we look forward to seeing your content. And then we want to ask a question to engage. And our question to engagement has been so far something along the lines of, what is your business focus right now? Meaning, what is your specific business focus right now? And
Hmm.
people are misreading it constantly. And I'm getting so much pushback of like, didn't you look at my profile?
It's a
And
sales trigger
yeah,
sentence,
and
and
it's
because the here's a good C word, context, right? I
mhm,
found a lot of times if there's not enough context between a relationship, then it doesn't matter what question you ask, it comes across as sleazy and
yep,
salesy, not
yep,
because of you, but because of the relationship that person has had with Pitchy Pete. So Pitchy
yep,
Pete's all over LinkedIn, sliding into the DMs, giving PTCD, post-traumatic connection disorder. You know exactly what's going to happen after you accept that,
yeah,
friend request or whatever
yeah,
from the 52nd thousandth, financial advisor that's
yes.
reached out to you. And I know part of what you do is your strategies overcome that, right? Because you've had to pivot away from what's worked in the past to creating
Mhm.
a strategy that works for your clients to build that relationship. Because I know you value relationships a lot.
Very much so, which is why we're actually going to reach out to even less. But we are getting off on the track of outbound marketing. What I really want to talk about is actually inbound marketing, because that's where video shines and that's where we
Yeah,
shine.
yeah,
So the content piece of it is that, and that's a beauty when people see your content, fall in love with you and your content, both hopefully, and then reach out to you. I mean, that's the holy grail for all of us, right? So that's the inbound part. And that is where we have been very successful. And like, if I look at the end of the year where all my clients came from, I keep a list. Um, if it's not a referral or a repeat client, it's inbound, very few outbound. So the inbound client is the client who is attracted to you and your content. And the way they're attracted to you in particular is if you show up on video, because if you don't show up on video, what are they going to be attracted to? The letters on the page, not so much, right?
mm,
So you can't even choose your font. So video is really, really important in creating that first connection. And even psychologically, when somebody meets you for the second time, when they're actually on a Zoom call with you, it just creates an immediate um, thinking that they actually know you already,
yeah.
and that is super valuable. It also allows you, and I love this, it's sort of a self-selection tool, because if somebody doesn't like my voice, doesn't like my mannerism, doesn't like my sense of humor, all of that stuff, then they're not even going to reach out to me. Saves me the trouble, saves them the trouble.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing is video. With video is your 24/7 salesperson, when you're sleeping, or hanging out with your kids or doing whatever you're doing. So that's
Yeah.
the other thing.
So what would you say to someone, because I've heard this many a time of, well, I do videos and I do them consistently and I'm not getting any traction. Nobody's reaching out to me.
Mhm.
This holy grail of my content's doing the conversion for me isn't working.
Right.
I know we know lots of people who that's their main gripe. So
Yeah.
what would be your advice, and kind of what would be maybe the audit process that you would look at that they could go and start course correcting some things?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question. So just we call those people the dutiful content creators,
Nice.
and just because you're doing it dutifully doesn't mean it converts, or it's any good.
Right.
So yes, you want to show up on your video feeds at well lit and well framed, and not your nose like hanging at the bottom of the frame, or stuff like that, which is such a pet peeve of
It's
mine.
the mom call, like when your mother calls you and they like,
And I'll, so there's a long list of those things, but and we actually do that with our clients. We first thing is we audit their strategy,
hmm,
because very often there is no strategy, or they think they have a strategy, which is none. And a strategy is so simple, elegant, and easy to do. You just have to know what the pieces are and what you're looking for. It can be a 5-minute conversation. Some clients it's an hour conversation, but it essentially can really be a 5-minute conversation around what are you plugging, where are you sending people, and that's the second part is a lot of people do not use call to actions, or they ask people to marry them on the first date. It's not going to work, or unless you want to invite the weirdo into your world, that's going to say yes on the first date. So, be very clear on what your call to actions are, and then what kind of content is going to match my personality. And that's something we just started doing ourselves, where we created the video personality quiz, and it's been so much fun, and it's been converting really well. And it's just sort of, if you're trying to have an educator personality do storytelling, that's just not going to end very well. That's going to be that's been a very unelegant story. Or even worse, when I have a client like that, who we try to teach him to tell little, like, just small little case studies of success stories that he'd had with clients. And every video was just like, oh my God, he would forget the names of the clients halfway through the
Oh my
video.
God.
He'd never have a punchline. And then he was like, sort of, but we started working with him. Matt is his name. We started working with Matt before we had the quiz. While I'm working with him, we did the quiz, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this quiz out on Matt. Matt has not an ounce of storyteller in him. He's all about being an educator. And once that clicked for me, that is actually a thing with my clients, it made the whole conversation that I was having with my clients up front changed. Because now I'm like, okay, you're a motivator. You need to be like solo live on LinkedIn and just like go for it, right? Or you're a storyteller. We need to now figure out how you can tell your whole story without ending up with a 20-minute video, right? And and it just made it was really that if you're aware of that, and how you can show up, such that you are authentic. That's the other word that's I don't want to use ever again, but I haven't found a better one yet either.
Alignment. I have found a really good, I like the word alignment. Is it in alignment with who you are, how you show up?
With who you are?
Alignment with your values. I mean, that's authenticity, is the honoring your values, essentially. So this is the coach side of me coming out.
All right, I'm going to use that. Thank you.
So what's the right kind of like content mix? Because, we've seen these people, it's like every single video is a pitch. It's just sell, ABC, right? Always be closing. It's a gross energy. I don't see a lot of people appreciating being sold to, because it's very much that used car salesman. So do you have a recommendation or a structure or a framework that you recommend that people leverage as part of how they should, use their content on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So, there's a soft pitch, just a hard pitch. So, people always say like, well, call to actions, they're so salesy, so then they don't do a call to action at all. But, very often a call to action that is really effective can be like, leave a comment below. So I always say any post that you ever put out on LinkedIn or any other platform needs to have a actionable, low friction request at the end. And I can talk about my services. I actually talk about my
CTA isn't
services.
selling. It's just what's next. It's helping the person understand the next step, versus someone who's like, here's my $2 million offer. Here's my $2 million offer. Here's my $2 million offer.
And even if you were to talk about your $2 million offer, there's a difference between what is your experience with a $2 million offer? Have you found it to be useful for you? Or the difference of, click here and buy. So if I'm on social media and I'm sort of thinking, where are these people coming from? Most likely they don't know me, or the ones that don't know me are the ones that are more likely to sell for me than my mother and my grandmother and my uncle, who look at everything I put out. They don't, but just as an example. So that person is that, like, book a call with me or buy. Those are high friction, like not going to do that. But if I say, hey, I have this fun video personality quiz, want to know who you are or what you are, that's something that, I cannot never resist a personality quiz of any kind. It's a great way for people to A, learn something, and B, for me to get their emails without there being too much of that friction, right? But the easiest is to just engage people, and then you have to do the due diligence of, and I do this every single day with every single post I post, is who's commented, who has never commented before, especially if you're a second degree person. and who's never liked before, and those people get a invitation to connect with us, or and a thank you, and the people who are first ones already get a thank you for commenting or engaging with my content.
Mhm.
And that's how we do inbound marketing.
Yeah.
And if you thank them for the comment, or even, comment back, and thank them as well, there's just ways of being polite and inviting them into a conversation. So all the language we use is around an invitation, a joining us. There's, it's all very sort of soft, but still like coming to our ecosystem, but we're inviting you in. We're not making you come in.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think
Well, it's
that's a big
building
difference.
curiosity, which I know a lot of what your
Yeah.
video probably strategy surrounds is piquing that interest, right? Of getting inside your ideal client's head. Oh, wow, I was thinking that, or wow, that's such a great value bomb, or ooh, I wonder what other videos Nina has, because this one was so worthwhile. How do you, what's your recommendation when people, because there's this, I think a lot of people get stuck with what is good content, right? This perfectionism of I need to have really good engaging stuff,
Mhm.
right? And so, and then they get stuck, just like with any kind of activity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are your recommendations around creating content that actually converts, whether it's generating engagement in terms of likes and comments, whether it gets someone opting into that thing, all of that is engagement.
Yeah, of course. So, well, first of all, I think you need a strategy, and you need a content calendar.
Mm,
And my content calendar has columns a column that says, what am I promoting right now? And has a column, what activities are we involved in right now? And has a column, what's going on in the world? And
mm.
that's everything from me being on vacation. That's my favorite thing to put in there.
Big rise go first.
To,
Yes.
yeah, to holidays, to, elections coming up, whatever it is, there's a column for sort of markers that we want to be conscientious of. There's a column for, right now we're in the phase, we are marketing the hell out of our new boot camp. So that's just what we're going for. So one post a week is going to be about the boot camp. And then I also make sure that once a week, or 3 times a month at least, I'm talking about my quiz, my video personality quiz. And once a week, I make sure that I share something, or I talk about a client, or I'm just talking about something else. I mean, it's always in the context of us, of course, clockwise, but it's also, tagging someone else, promoting someone else, sharing someone else's information, etc.
Yeah.
So we have a list of about 15 different ways of 15 different content vessels that we have. And then it becomes a puzzle game of, what do I need to promote? What kind of content is at my disposal? So that can be, a sales video, that can be a thought leadership video, that can be a micro content from a talk like this one here, right? Or it can be a client testimonial, or it can be storytelling post, which has nothing to do with video, or it can be I love doing hand drawn doodles. It can be a doodle. But I know I have all these different vessels or tools at my disposal. And then it becomes, always about 3 months out, Robin and I sit down and we outline what we're doing for the next 3 months. And then that nets me a list of, okay, Nina, you need to hunker down, and you need to write 3 storytelling posts, which are longer and take me quite a long time to write, but I love doing them. And I need 7 more videos. The rest of the videos is going to be recycled. And then I know, and now I'm batch producing. I'm not producing every, Monday morning going like, oh shit, I need these 4 things for this week. I go, oh shit, 3 months earlier, and say, okay, I need to produce these
Right.
15 videos for the next 3 months. And then I batch them 15. I normally try to do up to 10 videos in one sitting. The thought leadership videos, I can do maybe 3, and then my brain is fried. And the quick sort of tip videos and that kind of stuff I can do in my sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it
But
really
I
sounds
batch
like a lot of it
produce.
comes down
Yep.
to organization,
Yep.
intentionality,
Yep.
looking at strategy in terms of those 2 things as well, and looking at pre-planning versus where I think a lot of people, there's a lot of good intentions, especially at the beginning of the year, right? And then they slip into this, oh my God, behind the 8 ball kind of situation. And it's
Yep.
just this reactive state. And I'm a firm believer that you can't be creative when you're reactive. So, in order to come and draw in abundance and attract abundance, you have to be in that creative modality. What are some things that you do that help you get into that creative state? Because, it doesn't
Yeah.
always come naturally to everybody. I know it does to
Oh,
you. Like you could be
yeah.
like doing anything and you'll get brilliant
Many ideas,
ideas.
way too many. Yeah.
But you obviously work with people who this isn't necessarily second nature
Mhm.
for them. So what
Yeah.
would you recommend for people to kind of really connect to do these things where there's this intentionality and creativity?
So two things that you're bringing up that I think are really important, and it's a super good question. So number one is, and this is sort of my life's theme, is you need structure in order to be creative. Without structure, there's no boundaries. Without boundaries, there's no creativity. It's just as easy as that.
Yeah.
So giving yourself the structure with having a content calendar then gives you the freedom to go out and say like, oh, I want to do this, that, and the other. Now, it's not to say that you can't be reactive. And I think if we learned something in 2020, that's way into the future. So 2020
Yeah.
is that when shit hits the fan, like with the pandemic, with Black Lives Matter, with elections, whatever all happens, you need to be able to be flexible with your content as well, and ditch stuff, rearrange stuff, shoot new stuff on at the spur of the moment, or also decide to go black, right? All of it is okay, but we want that flexibility in our schedules as well. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing is, um, you know, I even the people that work with me, sometimes they're like, oh, I didn't shoot a video today for the class. So I have a class where we actually teach people how to do videos. And the homework every week is to come with a new video and always add another thing that they're learning with the online learning platform. And inevitably, the first couple of weeks, people are like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a video. I was going to shoot it this morning. And then there's a long list, pick one. The dog threw up, the child threw up, the husband threw up, somebody did something, right? So I'm like, okay, so this is a perfect example where you're not shooting your freaking video the morning of, right?
Right.
You are batch producing in advance, so you have that library, because life happens, shit happens, and it happens all the time.
Yep.
And as a small business owner particularly, so be prepared and have that library and pre-produce the stuff. So often what I do is I will set myself, I love Sunday afternoons, that's just me. I'll or even Saturday afternoon better, because then I can go out, because I'm actually looking halfway decent, because I've just shot a bunch of videos. Because I'm not one for video, for much for makeup and stuff like that. And then the beauty of batch producing is not only that you have the content, it also is, once you get in that creative flow of shooting content, very often, and this is another thing we teach our clients, is the video that you think is one video most likely is about 5 videos.
Yeah.
So and then you start getting in that creative flow, and creativeness begets creativeness. So
Right.
before you know it, you have more ideas, and then instead of shooting the 5 videos I set out to shoot, I'm actually shooting 10, because I had all these other fabulous ideas while I was shooting.
Right.
And if you're not that creative, it helps to have that list and say, okay, I'm going to shoot a tip series. That's for you who are educators. And the tip series is going to be tip 1 through 10. It might be even your lead magnet, which is a great way to get content, is take the 10 points you're making in your lead magnet. Don't make it one video, make it 11 videos, an intro video, and your 10 points each a video. That's content for the next half a year.
Yeah. Perfect. I love that. And in terms of creating the space for the creativity to happen. And if it doesn't happen, at a minimum, there's that backup list of things that, you can go to in terms of, the things that your ideal clients want to hear. So how can people get in touch with you? Because I know you mentioned this quiz, and I'm sure it's piqued a lot of people's interest.
Yes.
How can people get in touch with you, and how can they get their hands on that?
Yes. So the quiz is what I think one should do, because it's fun and it's fast, and it'll give you some beautiful insights, and you'll be seeing some videos too. So my company's name is Clockwise Productions, as in counterclockwise. So go to clocwiseproductions.com /quiz. It's as easy as that. And if you don't make it to the quiz page, it's also on the front page. So, I mean, you can't avoid it. So that's the best way to get a sense of the way we are, that our way of doing business, and how we present ourselves. And then of course LinkedIn is always a good place to find me, because
And all of
we
those will be in the show notes for everyone to be able
great.
to quickly access and reference and get to. Any parting thoughts, things that you want people to really make sure they remember when it comes to their video marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and I don't talk about that much because it's not our focus anymore, but whatever equipment you think you need, you don't.
Mm.
So take your phone, your smartphone. It's called smartphone for a reason, and just shoot with that. And the doing goes over the thinking about doing. And nowadays there's such a high tolerance for videos to look whatever they look like. I think it's more important just to have them and get started with it. And then you can still go and sign up with someone to teach you how to do it more properly or better, than just not doing it at all.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Thank you so much for being on today. Everybody, make sure you go check out those show notes and start implementing a lot of the value that Nina brought to us today.
Great.